Welcome back, YouTube. Reedster here with Far Gaming. Today I'm going to show you how I built this suburban backyard in Unity using 3D models that you can download for free. Let's jump into it. The first thing I like to do is draw out a rough blueprint of my scene so I can compile a list of models that I'll need. I drew this picture out on my iPad using an app called Freeform. Use whatever you like, but with this I was able to draw out that I want a decent sized house with a fenced in square backyard with a doghouse, picnic table, a fireplace, or a fire pit, a couple chairs, and then I want a different fence for the garden area. I want it to be a little bit shorter, so that's why I specified garden fence separate from fence. And then I want some raised garden beds. With this in mind, let's go shopping for some 3D models. My website of choice is sketchfab.com. I know there are plenty of other sites too, but lately this has been my first stop. If you have another website you like to use, drop it in the comments so other developers watching this video can check them out. So I've gone ahead and found most of the free 3D models that I want to use in my scene, but I'm going to show you how it works as I grab the last two. So I'm going to go search 3D models. And then right here, I want to make sure that the ones I'm searching for are downloadable. And then you have this licenses button with a bunch of different types of licenses. So make sure whatever 3D model you end up downloading, you check out exactly what license it is and what the rules are for that one. Most of these are that the author needs to be credited, and commercial use is allowed. You just got to look into the specifics on the different ones that you are using. So I'm going to type in picnic table, and you'll see like this one has a dollar symbol in the top right. This is a paid asset, so you would have to purchase this one for $3.99. I'm only interested in free ones, which you can usually tell by the download 3D model symbol. So I'll click on the image of this picnic table, and you can kind of look around it, check it out, make sure that's one you like. Another neat feature with this is if you just hover your mouse over them on the search page, you can get a nice rotation view out of all these. So clicking on it again, I'll scroll down and click download 3D model. Right here you'll see this model is free. It'll tell you the licensing information, and so you have to give credit to the author or the creator. So whenever you copy credits, I've already got a sources document that I've been keeping track of. So all of my 3D models that I've downloaded so far, I copy the credits and then I paste them in here, so that way whenever I upload this video to YouTube, or if you publish your game, whatever you end up doing, you can post this in your credits to give credit to whoever made that model. So then I personally like using the FBX file type. I'm going to be honest that I don't actually know what most of these other ones are, but I know FBX works great for my purposes. So I will go hit download, and that will start downloading. And then I will click out, and I also still need a doghouse. So I'll just type that in. And again, looking for a download symbol and not a dollar sign. I'm going to go with this first one here. I can look around it. I'll click on it. Wait for the textures to load and check it out a little bit. Once I know that one's good for what I'm wanting, hit download 3D model again. I'll copy those credits and paste right here. I just realized I didn't paste the credits from the last one. But download the FBX file. And then I've got all of the 3D models that I need for my scene. and I'm going to go back and add that other credit into my sources file. But I like to keep that handy so that I don't forget where I got this asset from. I can go back into my sources and follow the link to go straight to it, and whatever I need for that. Makes it a lot easier at the end whenever you're trying to get all your legal stuff figured out for your game. So there's that. And now we're ready to import our newly downloaded 3D models into our Unity scene, and then start building out our scene. So one downside with downloading 3D models from a bunch of different creators is they're all going to package them differently. They're going to use different methods to texture them, things like that. So every single one's going to be a little bit different. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I will go to the picnic table and extract it because it's a zip file, and then go in to that folder, go to source, and then I have the FBX file, which is the actual 3D model of the picnic table. I'll drag that over into my assets in Unity. And for organization, I'm actually just going to create a 3D models folder to keep all of these in, drag the picnic table in there, and now I'm going to drag it into my scene. And you'll notice it's huge. So I'm actually going to scale this down quite a bit. So I'm going to do 0.05 on all three axes, and then you'll also notice that there's no texture currently on the table. I have to go back into the textures folder, and then albedo is the just base color and kind of picture of what the table is going to look like. And I'll go into those other ones in a second. Just drag that one onto the table, and you notice we have our picnic table. So something you'll see is it actually created a material for the picnic table, and all these options over on the right is what these other textures are for. It's like normal would go into the normal map, metalness or the roughness would go into the metallic, AO is for ambient occlusion, I believe, so it would go in the occlusion one. And these things help the texture have more depth to it. So, like these nails on the table are probably supposed to have bumps on them. The wood's going to have some ridges, different things like that. So, adding these different things to it will give the table more detail. So that's not something I'm going to go into any further than that. I'm going to just use the base colors for everything, just to give you an idea of how this all works. So now going back to a different model, we'll go to the suburb house and extract that one. And I'll show you what I mean by them being textured a little bit differently. I'll grab the FBX file, pull it into the scene, zoom out a little bit, and you'll notice the house is actually still pretty small compared to the table. I think the table was just scaled really large. Again, that's going to be a difference with different creators and how they exported and packaged their 3D models. So you're just going to have to play with that a little bit yourself. I'm going to 2 times the scale on the house for right now, scoot it back a little bit, and then let's texture this house. We'll see what texture they have, and they actually just have one PNG file, which is just for their color, which is pretty much the same thing as the albedo one, but I can grab that, drag it onto the house, and it's colored. And I'll show you one more of these, and then I'll just go through and do the rest. The dog house is actually a little bit confusing because whenever I extract it, go into the doghouse, go into source, and then it's actually packaged again in the source. So I had to extract again, open it up, and they have the FBX file in here with the other textures. So again, I'm going to grab the base color. Again, same thing as the albedo and the other PNG. So I'll grab both of those and drag them in at the same time. And you'll notice it actually, hard to see right there, but if I drag it in the scene, you'll see it's already textured and colored. If I didn't drag that doghouse image in with it, then it would have been blank and added once that was brought in. So again, the doghouse, that looks like, compared to the house, it's a good size. Again, I'll probably need to play with the table a little bit, but let me go ahead and get the other assets brought in, and we'll start building this out a little bit more. Alright, so I've finished importing all of my 3D models into the scene and adding their base color texture to all of them. So they're all right here. The next thing I want to do is add a terrain to my scenes. That way I have a ground to build everything on top of. First thing is go to your web browser, the Unity Asset Store, and look for the Terrain Sample Asset Pack. I believe this is made by Unity. You hit add to my assets. As long as you're logged in, it'll add that to your assets. And then you can go in your Unity window, go to window up in the top left, go to package manager, make sure for packages you are looking at my assets, and then terrain sample asset pack. You'll hit import. It took me about 3 minutes for everything to go through, but you'll just import everything, and you end up with all these assets imported on the left side over here. So now I can right click in my hierarchy, 3D objects, and terrain. And I'm going to just hit enter to keep it called terrain. I need it to scoot back some, so I'm actually going to come up here for position Z and click and drag the Z backwards some. Give me some more space back there to work with. And now we can paint the terrain. So you want to make sure you're selected on the second one called Paint Terrain. You'll edit terrain layers, add layer, and I'm going to select this grass one, so I'm going to just double click, and it will automatically add that grass to your terrain, which I think looks pretty good. But now I'm going to add another layer, and let's say if I wanted some pebbles in my scene, I can click on the pebbles, and then I have this little paintbrush, the circle around it. You can choose different style of paintbrushes depending on how you want it to paint. I'm going to just go with this one and just a small brush size. And I selected on the pebbles one. I'm now going to paint pebbles into the scene. And so you just kind of click and drag it around, and it's going to add a little pebble pathway right through here. So there's definitely a lot more of those that you can add the layers in here and paint it around however you want to. That's as much as I'm going to do with that for right now. But I've got a basic ground back here that I can now play with. So now it's time to start moving these assets into place. So with the privacy fence, it actually gave me two different pieces. You see the lines kind of extend down below the ground a little bit. So I'm actually going to say 1 on the Y axis for those to bring them up a little bit. And then I don't need this double one because I'm going to just duplicate this one on the right over and over again. So since this is packaged up as a prefab, I'm going to right click on it, prefab, unpack completely. That gets rid of the prefab and allows me to modify this a bit more. I'm going to get rid of this one on the left, so I'm going to hit delete. And then privacy fence, this is the actual piece, and then here's the parent object. I'm actually going to rename that to fence line. And I'm going to put a bunch of fence pieces in this group right here. So first, I'm actually going to bring this back. And now I'm going to click on the fence half and right click, duplicate, slide this piece over. Just the duplicated piece is getting slid over. And I'm going to leave this little gap here. I think that's what looks good for both of them. And I'm going to click one, hold down Control, select the second one, right click and duplicate. and then drag this one over just like I did before. And I'm just going to kind of guess and get it kind of close. And then I'm going to right click and duplicate it again. I want my fence to be 6 of these wide. There we go. So now my fence line is all 6 of these pieces, and I'm going to move it into place. This isn't the best way to do it, but I'm going to have it overlap with the house just so it makes it a little bit easier for what I'm about to do. And then I'm going to right click on fence line. So this whole group of fences right here, I'm going to close that down a little bit, right click and duplicate. And so now I've duplicated all those fence pieces, and whenever I rotate them, all of them will rotate together just like that. So I'm going to take that, move it down here. I'm going to get up close in this corner and get them right where I want them. I think that's close enough. So now I've got these 2 fence lines. Put them close together right here. What I want to do is I'm actually going to turn this into another empty object, fence corner. And I'm going to stick both of these in there. And now if I duplicate the fence corner object, I end up with another one. And I can move this whole corner out here and make it pretty easy for me to square it off. So I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis 180 degrees. And then I just need to move it into position. Scoot it over a tiny bit. And I think that's good for now. So I've got my little fenced in backyard here. I think that's just what I'm wanting. So now I am ready to do the garden fence next. You'll notice this one I also need to raise up. So I'm going to put 1 for the y-axis. And I wanted this one to be shorter, so I'm going to scale down the height of it by 0.5. And then you notice it's kind of levitating off the ground. We could change the position to 0.5 as well. And then I want to shrink it down left to right because I think these boards are a little bit too wide for what I'm wanting. So I'm also going to do 0.5 for the x-axis. The z is going to be how thick it is. I think it's fine just like that. Also for organizational purposes, I'm going to create another empty object and call it garden fencing, or just garden fence. Grab that broken fence, throw it in there. I'm going to bring it down closer to the fence on this side. And now I'm ready to start duplicating that piece. So right click, duplicate, slide it down. I'll do that again. And I think that's far enough out this way. So whenever I duplicate this one, I'm actually going to turn it 90 degrees. So set the y-axis for the rotation to 90 degrees. Put it in position. And then I'm ready to start duplicating that one, sliding it over. And I could leave this little gap walkway right here. Later, I could probably come back in and add a fence right here and add a script to it so that it can be open and closed. But for now, I'm good with how that looks. For the garden beds, I actually grabbed a small crate 3D model because none of the raised garden beds that I found online were exactly what I wanted, or if they were nice, they cost money. So just to keep this within a free budget, I decided this crate actually works great for what I want. So I obviously don't want my raised garden sticking that high above the ground, so I'm going to lower it to where I have just 2 boards sticking above the ground. I'm going to bring it up over here. And I feel like that looks just like a nice raised garden bed. And so I'm ready to start duplicating that. So I'm going to take the crate, duplicate it, and I'm going to slide it down. I want the boards in the middle to look like they're one board. So I'll leave them overlapping. And then let's bring both of the small crates together down here. Not like that. There we go. So select both of those, duplicate them, and then slide back over. And again, I want it to kind of look like I got one board in the middle that they're all sharing. So there we go. Now I could come back and add a plane in here, and just a simple flat plane, raise it up a little bit in the garden and texture it however I would like, and that could be my raised up dirt. A couple different ways that you could go about doing that, but I'm going to leave those how they are for now. And I'm going to real quick just drag and drop these different things into the area and rotate them, move them how I want to. And there we have it. I have my sample scene finished. I've got my picnic table, the fire pit, and the doghouse in here. Again, I could come back into the terrain and I could start painting it again. If I wanted to just add some pebbles somewhere, or maybe you'd wanted a different type of dirt around the garden, or maybe the fireplace is actually on top of some pebbles, or you wanted a different type of grass underneath your table to show that the grass isn't getting watered as well, or however you want to style it. There's a lot that you can do with the terrain options, but otherwise that is how you build a simple scene in Unity using free 3D models from the internet. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop those down in the comments. If you learned something, I'd greatly appreciate a like and subscribe. I'm really trying to grow my channel and get some more content made. So if there's anything specific that you'd like to see me show you how to do in Unity, please drop that in the comments. Let me know. Greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, catch you on the next one.